back everyone of a Westlake Hornets Teambuilder Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14, as today we have the Season 4 recruiting special where we go over all of the top recruits that Westlake could be getting, and these players could be the future of Westlake football. Starting with a 4-star wide receiver, he goes by the name of John Carlson from War Acres, Oklahoma, and yes, War is spelled with 2 R's for some reason. Westlake just offered Carlson a scholarship. They are the only team to have offered him a scholarship, which is surprising because this kid looks like he is super talented. I think Westlake is the favorite to get him since they are the first team and only team that has showed interest in him, but I don't think they will get him soon. I think it's going to take at least another month or so. A player that I expect Westlake to get pretty quickly, like Carlson, Westlake is the only team to have offered this guy a scholarship, and that is Ryan Reginald. We looked at him last year, and now he is a senior. He is a 3-star. He is someone who could be a mainstay on the Westlake offensive line. I don't see him starting as a true freshman, but maybe as a redshirt freshman, I could see him starting at one of the tackle positions. He looks really, really good. Next up, we have an even better offensive lineman than Ryan Reginald. He is also a 3-star, but he has the talent of a 5-star. That is Will Underwood from Northern Oklahoma. A little surprised that he has not shown interest in playing for his hometown team, being the Oklahoma Sooners. Unlike Reginald and John Carlson, teams have noticed that Will Underwood is a really good football player, and it is pretty unlikely that Westlake does get him. I believe Oklahoma State is the current favorite. Obviously, Champ Britton is a really good quarterback, and Westlake has a really good future at quarterback for the next few seasons, but it's always good to look ahead. We looked at this guy last year as a sophomore, now he's a junior, and that is Peyton Curtis. Curtis was the #1 player in the country a year ago, and that has not changed. Scouts have compared him to Andrew Luck, and for good reason. He will likely be the #1 prospect in the country next season, and it's going to be hard for Westlake to get him, but I absolutely think they have a chance, and he could be the heir apparent to Champ Britton. Next up, we have probably the most interesting player in this entire recruiting class and probably the most talented player in high school football. That is Sean Briggs, the #10 athlete in the country, so there are 9 athletes technically better than him. I believe he's like the 25th best prospect in the country, but I think he's better than a lot of those players. He's a 5-star. He's not the biggest, 5'11", 176 pounds, but all you need to know about him is he ran a 4.28. He is fast. He can play running back as well as defensive back. He looks like he can be a Heisman contender in no time. Speaking of running backs who have potential to be a Heisman contender, we are going to be looking at sophomore Dante Savage. As I said, Savage is only a sophomore, but like Peyton Curtis, Savage is the #1 player in his class. So the next 2 recruiting classes, the state of Utah has the #1 player in the country, which is pretty incredible. Dante Savage looks like he could be a superstar in the future. Next up, we have a defensive end. His name is Tyreek Cooper. He is related to Westlake defensive end Trey Cooper Jr. Cooper has started at right end the past 4 seasons for Westlake. He's now a senior, and he has a younger brother in Tyreek Cooper. I would say Cooper and his brother Trey Cooper are very similar. The only difference is I don't think Tyreek Cooper will be a day 1 starter since Westlake is obviously better than they were 4 years ago. Next up, we have a junior safety. His name is Wendell Wade. Ash Jakar is a junior, so he's not getting any younger. And meanwhile, at 3 safety, Leon Moore, he's being redshirted this year. He's a lock for the next 4 years. But strong safety is a little bit of a question. So Wendell Wade, a projected 4-star, could be the replacement for Ash Jakar. Speaking of 4-stars, this player is not a projected 4-star, but since he's a senior, he's a 4-star. There's no needs for a projection. His name is Ogobo Enecho Jr. He has shown a lot of interest in Westlake early on. I believe BYU and Utah State are in the running for him. He is the #3 outside linebacker in the country, and Westlake really needs an outside linebacker. So maybe Ogobo Enecho could be that next Zaire McGill. And Westlake will be looking at a middle linebacker now. His name is Owen Jackson. The Jacksons have a big family in college football, and Owen Jackson is the next son. Westlake does not have any of the Jackson brothers, but they're hoping that's going to change with Owen. Chip Barron will be the starting middle linebacker for the next 2 years, but after that, if Westlake can get Owen Jackson, he could be a 3-year starter. The last player we're going to be looking at is a wide receiver, a 4-star who goes by the name of Everett Lemieux. Lemieux and John Carlson are about as talented, but teams have paid more attention to Lemieux, and he is from Utah, which I guess makes it more appealing for Westlake. Lemieux doesn't quite have the hands that Carlson has, but he's a little bit more athletic and he has a higher ceiling. So that's going to do it for part 1 of the recruiting special. Now let's look at the official recruiting board. So that is part 1 of the recruiting special. I hope you enjoyed. Here's part 2. It's a little bit more basic. That is going to just be going over the recruiting board as a whole. Starting with quarterback, there is only one on the board, and that is a 3-star Victor Richardson. He's probably never going to play it down for us, but he was interested in coming, and we could use some extra depth, so he is on the board. Running back, same thing. Tony Thomas is interested, but he's probably never going to play it down. But he is good depth. No fullback, 6 wide receivers. The 2 we covered, obviously, 2 of the more bigger names. First one being Everett Lemieux, and the second one being John Carlson. We just put Carlson on the board, and no one has given him a scholarship yet, so we should definitely get him. And then Lemieux is pretty much a 2-team race between us and BYU. And then these guys, whoop-de-doo, probably going to get pet away. Hopefully going to maybe get one of these 2. Tight end. Tight end is a big need, but there's only one on the board, and that is Sandu Fishing. 3-team race between us, Arizona State, and Utah. We would certainly love to get him. 7 offensive tackles, Ryan Reginald. No one else has offered him scholarship, I don't think. Nope, that's good. And then same thing with Jamar Porter. So we should definitely get these 2, which is huge for our offensive line. And these guys are pretty much depth. Probably not going to get Tony Bailey. He looks like he's going to Boise State. There's Blake Sims, former Alabama quarterback. Guard, only one guard, but a very good one. And William Underwood, a player we talked about in the recruiting special. He is an 80 overall. He'll be a day 1 starter. But Utah, Arizona State, and Oklahoma State are all interested in him. So it's a little bit unlikely, but hopefully we get him. Center, only one center. Reggie McDonald, we just put him on the recruiting board. No one else has offered him a scholarship yet. Defensive end, only one. Tyree Cooper, we talked about him. The brother of Trey Cooper Jr. Defensive tackle, only one. Calvin Meeks, a 4-star. Oregon and Maryland do have the upper hand, but we would love to get him. Outside linebacker, there are 4. Outside linebacker is a big need. Ogobo and Necho, who we talked about in the recruiting special, the number 3 outside linebacker in the country. 3-team race between us and our 2 rivals, BYU and Utah State. Michael Howard, he is the 13th best outside linebacker in the country. We're his only scholarship, we should get him. And then Scott Wheaton, the 114th outside linebacker, but he is still pretty good, and we are his only scholarship. And then Maurice Brown, woohoo. Middle linebacker, only one, as middle linebacker is pretty good for the future. This year we got Mel Flint, and then the next 2 years will be Chip Barron. But after Chip Barron, we don't really know what we're going to do, so that's why we're going after Owen Jackson. The Jacksons are a big family in college football. They have Jack Jackson Jr., quarterback of Arizona State, A.J. Jackson, a wide receiver on Utah State, and the next sibling in that family is Owen Jackson, and Westlake certainly would like to get him. Nobody in the secondary Westlake is going after, which is very interesting. Westlake isn't stacked in the secondary, but they are looking pretty good. Nothing at kicker or punter, and Calvin Richardson is a senior, and Kevin McKinney is a junior. So next year, Westlake's going to have to look at both a kicker and a punter. I assume Westlake may go after a kicker later in the year, or Kevin McKinney plays there next year. And then there are 2 athletes. The first one, probably the most interesting player on the recruiting board, Sean Briggs. We talked about him in the recruiting special. This guy is a cheat code. Where are his stats? He has 98 speed, 95 acceleration, 84 man coverage, 88 zone coverage, 93 elusiveness, 95 juke move, 92 spin move. This guy is a machine. We need a strong safety because Ash Jakar is a junior. But this guy at running back looks so sick. I get Alex Ellis and Sebastian Jackson are both redshirt freshmen, and they've both played very well. So running back looks like it's a lock for the next 4 seasons. But this guy looks absolutely nuts. We may have to put him at linebacker or running back. And then Thomas McKenzie, I believe it's a 2-team race between us and Kansas. He looks like a pretty talented player. Don't really know what position he is. He looks probably like a wide receiver, and we could use some extra receivers. And then with Briggs, 3-team race between us, Stanford, and USC. I don't see us getting Sean Briggs, but obviously we're going to try to pursue him. So that is it for the recruiting special. I hope you all enjoyed. Dolphins offseason live stream will be starting today at around 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I know this is not advance notice at all. I was going to do it tomorrow, but a lot of people in the Discord wanted it today, aka 2 people. So I was a little too excited myself. So that'll be today. I hope you are excited. And if you cannot make it, I will have an off-season recap on Monday. So don't worry. That's it for me. I'm out. Peace.
Hey, man!